Good morning. I'm here with the seagulls at the bridge for a little wisdom from the book of Proverbs, written by the wisest man in the world, Solomon. And we've come to chapter 18, verse 17, a verse that goes like this. The one who states his case first seems right until the other one comes and examines him. In other words, there really are two sides to every story. Now look, I spend a lot of time with two 3-year-olds, two of my favorite little people in the whole world, my granddaughters, Kinsley and Sophia. And I have them all day on Tuesdays. I did yesterday. And they just love each other to death. They play together, they hug each other, they call each other sisters, even though they're cousins born a week apart. They have so much in common. But occasionally, something happens when Grandpa's not right there and Grandpa is left to figure out exactly what happened. This actually happened last week when they disappeared for a little bit into the guest room and closed the door. That's always a red flag. And I heard a thump and I thought the worst. So I ran to the room and there at the door was Kinsley, like this, saying, "It wasn't me." So I opened the door and there was Sophia, standing beside a table that used to have a printer on top, but now the printer was on the floor. That was the thump. And Sophia looked a little bit guilty, but she had a very different story. And so hers was the other side to the story. So it's not always easy to untangle those threads. And I've often faced the reality of there being two sides to every story in my counseling over the years. Relationship counseling, marriage counseling, where there are two sides, two people, and one says this and one says that, and it's not always easy to figure it all out. And the first person you listen to, particularly if you trust that person and you love that person, it seems right until if you take the time to examine the other side of the story. It's not always that easy. When I read this verse, I was reminded of a story in the Old Testament. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny the way it played out. It's the story of Moses and Aaron. They're brothers, of course, and God called Moses up to Mount Sinai to receive the law. He was there for 40 days, and Aaron was left with the people. He was the spokesperson, if you remember the relationship of the brothers. He was left with the people, and during those 40 days, the people decided that they were waiting too long for the law, and they needed to have gods to worship rather than wait for Jehovah. And so they started complaining to Aaron, as they were wont to do. They were always complaining. And they complained to Aaron and wanted a god to worship. And so Aaron asked for all of their gold, and he melted it down, and he formed a calf, a golden calf for them to worship, and they worshiped. Now, meanwhile, we know the rest of the story. Moses didn't know any of this. He was up receiving the law, and God warns him that the people had gotten themselves into trouble. And so he sends Moses down. Moses comes down, sees that they're dancing and worshiping a golden calf, and he becomes so angry that he takes the tablets of the law he received from God and he breaks them. Then he goes to Aaron and basically says, "What's going on? How did this happen?" And Aaron comes up with this side of the story. He said, "Well, you know these people. They're so disobedient. They're so stubborn." That was true. And so they wanted a god to worship. I took their gold and melted it down, and out came this calf. Now that's a funny story. That's one side of the story. We knew the other. And of course, God revealed the other side of the story to Moses. There were two sides to every story, and sometimes sometimes one side is right and one side is wrong, but not always. It can be confusing. So I have I have 3 principles that I'd like to share with you based on my own experience. If you're in that situation where you've listened to one person and there's one side of the story, the first principle is listen first and listen often. And this is especially true if you are one side of the story. If it's you that's having a disagreement or a conflict with another person, your spouse or someone else, take the time to listen to that other person and consider whether possibly they are right and you are wrong. But at any rate, listen first and listen often. That's number 1. Number 2, don't take sides. Resist taking sides, because if these are 2 people you care about, they're going to have to work this out themselves. You're probably not going to be in a position to work it out for them. The conflict is between them. They are the 2 sides of the story, so don't take sides. Principle number 3, if there is a right and a wrong side and you've listened and you've found out the facts and there is one person that is on the right side, you be on the right side, not on the wrong side. Don't look the other way. Don't turn a deaf ear. Don't walk away. If there's a right side and you're sure, be on the right side. Aaron was on the wrong side. So don't be that person. And have a wonderful Thursday. The recording of the Bible study is up for you to listen to if you weren't able to be there. Have a wonderful Thursday. God bless.